Thank you all for joining us this morning. Welcome to the board briefing of the Dougherty County School System. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any public comments or presentations?
Yes, ma'am, we do. We have members of our Information Technology Division to come and make a presentation on cybersecurity awareness. As we said at the last meeting, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and Terrence and Matthew are going to come to us and give us some information about cybersecurity and in general, and some things specific to the. So I'm sure you'll find it interesting as we always do. Sometimes a little alarming when you look at the number of intrusions that take place, attempted intrusions that take place. We do a good job. And so I said Terrence and Matthew. I should have said Mr. Fields and Mr. Norfleet. I apologize. So feel free to go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Again, I'm Terrence Fields, the Chief Information Officer, here to bring you some information about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So every October, the National Cybersecurity Alliance collaborates with government and private industries to raise awareness about digital security and empower everyone to protect their data and forms of crime. Cybersecurity Awareness Month reminds everyone that there's all kinds of ways to keep our data protected. It can be a massive difference by practicing the basics of cybersecurity. As a technology leader, we always face these assumptions that the responsibility for all cybersecurity decisions and outcomes rests solely on us. But actually managing cybersecurity is all about risk, and we need everyone's involvement. So what we do internally is senior leadership determines a risk tolerance, and based off that tolerance and budget considerations and other decisions, we then come up with risk mitigation plans. So I have Mr. Norfleet here today that's going to go over some information with you. And one of our principles is it's not if we get attacked, it's when we get attacked. So that's how we go about looking at it, making sure that our district and our information is set up through segmentation, training, and development of our users. So I'm going to bring up Mr. Norfleet, and he's going to go through some specific things that we do internally to protect our district's assets.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
I would like to thank Mr. Dyer and the distinguished board members for allowing me the opportunity to articulate the vision of Mr. Fields for the cybersecurity program of Dougherty County School System. Next slide. Well into 2023, it is disheartening to know that K-12 institutions continue to be one of the primary targets of cybersecurity attacks. Cybersecurity attacks such as dynamic denial of services, phishing, data breaches, password attacks, man-in-the-middle, and malware on school districts have resulted in monetary losses, the need for additional recovery resources, and loss of instructional time. School districts have been hit by ransomware since 2022, represents 1,981 schools. That's almost doubled since 2021. In addition, the ransomware groups successfully exfiltrated data from U.S. schools at a rate of 2/3 in 2022, up from half that number in 2021. To combat that, the district uses what we call CIS Critical 18. The CIS Critical 18 is a cybersecurity framework that provides several skills, benefits, and direction. It provides a standard against which to assess risks, gaps, existing security controls, helps prioritize where to expand resources, lends authority and legitimacy to cybersecurity programs and efforts, supports continuous processes, improvements. Next slide. For today, we're going to take 6 of the controls and highlight those and how we actually combat and defer and detect information in our environment. Next slide. Inventory access controls and software access. Next slide. For the district, we utilize and leverage One Ed Tech. One Ed Tech is a system and a collaborative development of the educational community to ensure data privacy for vetting applications, certifying them for data privacy standards, vetted products, then earn the Trusted Ed Apps data privacy seal, are enlisted in the One Ed Tech product directory. Next slide. Additionally, internally, we've developed a spreadsheet for all schools, which we track all inventory, software, applications, return on investment, and utilization. Next slide. Data loss protection, enforcement of data retention, and data guard. Next. In our environment, we use the Google Admin Console. We have approximately 125 rules that looks for all type of data that's transferred throughout our environment, whether it's social security numbers, personal identifiable information, student ID numbers, and Georgia state IDs. Next slide. Over the last 180 days, we haven't had any data loss protection issues in our environment. Next slide. Data retention. As a school system, we have a lot of data. As you can see, we have 88.51 terabytes of data, and we haven't even touched a third of the space that we have. Next slide. All of that data that we have in the district is backed up indefinitely. So that allows us to pull any information, whether it's for reports, giving students their information when they graduate. All of that is backed up on all platforms, whether it's Google Drive, Gmail, Hangouts, Google Meets. We have the ability to go back and find that information. Next. As we continue to look at our student information that we transfer, we now are instituting Data Guard with ClassLink OneSync. This will allow us the ability to change and scramble students' names, email addresses, and only give out the primary ID of the student ID. That protects our students' digital identity. Next slide. Securely manage enterprise assets and software, implement and manage a firewall on servers. Next. As you can see, as a district, we have access and visibility to all APIs that our students and staff have access to. We can track what information is going back and forth. Additionally, on October 22nd, Google pushed all third-party access controls back to our level. So now it is on the IT department to determine what information we're actually sending publicly across the different organizations. Next. As you can see from these slides, we also leverage Microsoft Entra, which is formerly known as Azure Active Directory in the cloud. Every time someone from our district logs in, we have positive control and we understand where they're coming from, whether it's based off of geographical location, IP addresses, whether they're using their username or password, or two-factor authentication to actually get into our environment. Implementation of a firewall. Our firewall is the first line of defense. As you can see from this slide, this is a healthy firewall that's showing all of our traffic. Next slide. With changing two filters of block and geographical location, you can see that constantly the Dougherty County school system environment is getting hit. People are trying to get into our information, but our appliances and applications are doing their jobs. Next slide. Account management. Next. In the school system, it's imperative that the information technology department be an asset to students' learning. One of the things that we do is we automate student accounts. Every day, we get an extract from Infinite Campus, which is our student information system. And we get those new students that are enrolled, whether it's changing of schools, grade levels, and every day we're provisioning those accounts to Active Directory and Google. Next slide. With this automated process, as you can see, every day at 4:35, after the kids have gone, after the records clerks have made their updates, we get that information and push it out there so that the next day students can get to learning. Next slide. Account management and access control. Next. A big push from last year was multi-factor authentication. We've taken the steps to move further towards that goal and being accomplished. We're going to utilize a tool called idportal.docoschools.org. This application will allow all users, whether it's staff and eventually students, because we have to protect them as well, to claim their accounts, set up multi-factor authentication, whether it's with a push, pictograph, text message to your cell phone, but this will allow us to have positive control and identity of whoever accesses our system. Next. These are the different variations that we can use for authentication. One of the big goals that Mr. Fields has is adoption. Well, we understand that we have to give people options so that they can adopt these solutions. So we went out, checked out a couple of different vendors, and we believe this is the best solution to take care of our environment. Next slide. email and web browser management. Next. As we continue to grow in the environment of Dougherty County, we've transitioned from being a Windows school district to a Google district, and now we're an Apple district. Well, with each iteration of what we bring into the district for resources, we have to grow our platforms to protect our students. One of the new tools that we utilize now is GoGuardian. GoGuardian is optimized for the Apple ecosystem. As you can see now, we have the granularity to actually know exactly what our students are doing. They're doing Google Docs, we can see that. If they're surfing the web, we can see that. Next. And as we know, technology is a gift and a curse sometimes. So as you can see right here, a student was going to Scholastic Reading, which we know Scholastic's Reading is an educational website. However, the artificial intelligence of the platform that we use miscategorized it and blocked it. Well, we have to get our students back to education when we know it's time for them to learn. With 2 clicks, we can identify that those students need this resource, hit continue, and we can get these students back to learning. Next slide. Managed browser. Right now, leveraging the Google Admin Console, we've started to deploy out managed browser, which gives us positive control over every Chrome browser in our environment, whether it's on a Windows machine, Google device, or Apple iOS device. Next. As we continue to take care of our students, one of the additional tools that we brought into our environment was Gaggle. Gaggle is a social and emotional well-being tool that we'll utilize to actually monitor the digital environment for students so that we can make sure their social and emotional well-being is taken care of. I thank you for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that presentation. Yes, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. All right. Next.
Yes, sir. We can at the next meeting. We'll have it. I think it's appropriate. Certainly appropriate.
Next, we'll review the agenda items to give board members an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. Are there any questions about the agenda? We do have, you should all have the addition of a couple of field trips, agenda item 5B. Are there any questions or comments about the minutes from the board meeting held on October the 9th? Item number 2, consideration of recommendation for employment of personnel. Item number 3, consideration of recommendation for release of personnel. Item number 4, consideration of recommendation from the Building and Grounds Committee. 4A, the revision of the fiscal year 2022 capital program application. 4B, The Mary Acres Middle School gym and locker upgrades bid award. 4C, the no pun intended. The 4C Academy Greenhouse change order number 4. Yes. Yep. Okay. Um, 4A. Yes, please.
Yeah, that was, we amended that application, Madam Chairman, Dr. Fennessy, to withdraw or delay, with, in effect, delay in the Turner Elementary project. We had the Westover project, Dougherty project, and the HVAC projects. Um, Took precedent on that, and looking at the cash flows with the SPLOST coming in, we didn't think we would be able to do the Turner project within the time frame allowed by Georgia Department of Education. If we did not complete the project during that time frame, then we would lose the funding that comes from the state. So what we're doing, we're withdrawing the application for the FY22 application. We're going to resubmit in the subsequent fiscal year to allow that clock to start ticking again to give us time to get the project constructed. And by doing that, the funds that we are allowed for Turner goes back into the pot, and we don't lose them. We can use them again. But it was close, and so we didn't want to risk not having the project completed in time and risking the capital outlay funding from the state. Yes, sir.
So that project will be pushed to 2023.
Right. We submitted a new application. 2024, actually 2024.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. I gotcha. Okay, item number 5, consideration and recommendation to approve the following consent items. 5A, fundraising requests. 5B, out-of-state field trips.
Madam Chair, in the addendum that we received, I noticed that we have scholars that will be going to Dothan, Alabama, with 40 youngsters and 3 chaperones. May I humbly request that we add another chaperone, because I tend to feel much better if our youngsters at least at the attention of 1 chaperone per 10. Thank you
We
very
certainly
much.
make that a condition of approval. Yeah, we'll make that a condition of for approval. We'll communicate that to the school.
Item number 6, financial reports. Are there any committee reports? Okay. At this time, Mr. Superintendent, are you ready to give your report?
Yes, ma'am. Very briefly, I just want to thank Ms. Hatcher and her staff again in the finance division for the excellent work. I thank the board for its financial stewardship. As you can see, our projected fund balance at the end of fiscal year 23 was $41.2 million, which is the largest we've had in the history of the school system. And that's on top of rolling the millage rate back 5 of the last 6 years and making historic investments, not only in equipment, but also in pay increases for our employees. So I'd like to thank the board and thank, again, Ms. Hatcher, our CFO, and her staff for the excellent work that they have been able to do managing the resources of the school system. And
Yes, sir, Reverend Bush. Is your microphone on?
Just want to point out again, can you hear me now? I just want to point out again that some years ago we had to borrow $15 million every December. Every December. And what a change. You know, that is remarkable. And You know, if I were a taxpayer, I think I could comprehend that. Good management supersedes talk. Action speaks louder than words. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to also commend Ms. Hatcher and her staff for this 41 million surplus. They're doing an excellent job, and they're really taking care of our money. So I want to say kudos. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think we all echo those sentiments. They make us look really, really good. Thank you for your hard work and dedication of just being wise and being good stewards of what has been entrusted to us. Okay, Mr. Superintendent?
Good morning again, everyone. Superintendent's report for October 26, 2023. Of course, the vision of the Dougherty County School System is to be a destination school system that, in partnership with families and community stakeholders, provides quality educational and social development experiences that empowers graduates to be successful and impactful contributors to society. Our mission is to meet the academic and non-academic needs of our students with rigorous and relevant educational experiences that equip them to succeed in life. We'll get started, as we always do, looking at our priority areas for our strategic plan, being early literacy, academic rigor and relevance for all students, social and emotional wellness, investment in human capital, and our family and community engagement or stakeholder engagement. We'll start with our academic rigor and relevance. We'll highlight two things today, our academic rigor and relevance piece, as well as our investment in human capital. As you know, this board passed a couple of months ago, board policy BAB, about school governance, and adopted a blueprint for putting Dougherty County school system on the pathway to being a high-performance school system. And that blueprint centers on the fundamental belief that student learning is the core of our purpose and responsibility, and that we're dedicated to enhancing the student achievement for each student at every school. And the blueprint incorporates three main components: an aligned system of teaching and learning, an accountability structure, and a continuous improvement framework, which balances between consistent practices throughout the school system and fostering local school pride. It's a little small. I want to get all on one page, but our aligned system of teaching and learning, of course, we'll provide this to you as a PDF. The teaching and learning standards that are based on the state adopted standards, balanced instructional framework. As you know, we use a graduate release framework overall, but we also have a few variations with our 5 E's and other strategies in terms of science and other content areas. Equitable distribution of resources to our students and our instructors, our teachers. A balanced assessment system, personalized learning and targeted instruction, and instructional interventions as appropriate based on the needs of our students. Then a system of accountability, and then a continuous improvement framework. Just a few things we look at our, because you know our graduate release model for instructional delivery is our base model. We have other strategies in terms of instruction based on the content area. But we're going to focus today on our assessment piece. And there's been some debate, a lot of debate in the state and across the nation about the number and types of assessments that are conducted. So we're very intentional about the assessments that we have in the Dougherty County school system, the district endorsed assessments. And so one is a reading inventory, and it's an adaptive software that provides teachers with quantifiable data to make reading instruction more personalized and identifies student needs. And we, again, part of our blueprint is to provide targeted intervention and personalized instruction. This will allow us to do that. We conduct these screeners 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring. You'll see those dates identified. The math inventory is similar to reading inventory. It's an adaptive measure that measures students' math ability and progress, and again allows teachers to personalize the instruction. Again, 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring at grades 6 through 8. Beacon is an interim assessment that provides data on student learning progress on all of the state tested subjects. In fact, Beacon was developed by the same company that developed the Georgia Milestones, so it serves as a very accurate predictor of performance on the Georgia Milestones. And we conduct those Beacon assessments fall, winter, and spring as well, in grades 3 through 8. And connections, as you know, early literacy is the number 1 priority in our strategic plan. And when we looked at our literacy achievement for our students, we noticed that the reading component had seen a significant improvement. What we saw opportunities for improvement is in the writing area. A lot of students, particularly since the pandemic, their writing has not kept pace with the improvements in reading. So Connections provides us with a form of instructional material, and we're using it particularly for its writing resources to include hand-scored writing assessments, and the students engage in authentic writing practices that mirror the extended writing section on the GMATs. So when they get to the GMATs, it won't be their first time seeing it. This really models that, and it provides teachers with data regarding the students' needs for improvement, and so we can target the support that we provide to students throughout the year. We have administered this assessment 3 times a year. Narrative writing was in September. This month we have informative and explanatory writing, and then in February we'll have opinion writing. So those things again are all targeted toward our number 1 priority, which is literacy. But the writing component of literacy versus the reading component, you know, the last 2 years, it was 2 years, Ms. Miller, we in year 3, right, of the science of reading. We're in year 3. So the prior 2 years we focused on the reading, particularly reading comprehension, and now we'll expand into the writing piece that rounds out the literacy efforts that we have. And then in terms of the system of accountability, we have impact checks. Our Department of Student Improvement, they developed a data workbook that they share with our schools that looks at the various components of the CCRPI. And it's designed to help leadership at the schools do ongoing analysis regarding their performance on CCRPI, but most importantly, on the academic performance of our students. It looked at the Beacon assessments, looked at the reading inventory, math inventory, and connections assessments to track the improvements throughout the year, so that when we get to the end of the year, we have a good idea of where students are. And as we go through the year, when we see students who are lagging behind in particular areas, we can target instruction and focus their support versus just giving general support that may or may not be as effective. So they provide leading data that's actionable that we can help improve our student learning outcomes. Again, we scheduled to do the first impact check in next month. We have one in January, and then we'll have another in March as we wind up the year looking to prepare for the milestones. Any questions about those, Madam Chair, the board members?
I would like to address this question to Mr. Superintendent. I know that this information is available maybe on the web, but as it relates to after-school programs, is there any way that we can share this information so that as they are tutoring or assisting our students, that they can kind of introduce some of this or help to carry it over in their programs that will benefit our children?
Yes, ma'am, certainly. And one of the evidence-based strategies is extended learning time, increased learning time. And so after school provides us with those opportunities with My Life Community Outreach and some of the other, and then of course our own after school programs We share this data, and they use this data to help provide and support some of the other programs that are not as closely aligned with the school system. We don't. We certainly we have to give the students, the parents, to agree to share that data, because we're not as we're not with Mount Olive Community Outreach. They've been doing it for several years. Because our schools, they understand the data privacy. But we share this data with outside entities. We have to make sure that that data secure to ensure that we comply with FERPA, the Family Education and Right to Privacy Act. So as we work through this data and it becomes more targeted, then we can certainly provide specific data and not necessarily give scores, but we can focus on with the students. Ken needs to work on this particular component when he goes to after school without having to share the data with the school, the scores for the students, so it won't violate their privacy. But to answer your question, yes, we can. Yes, we plan to. And as we get this data throughout the year, it becomes more targeted. We share that with those providers to ensure that they're providing the resources that are targeted to the needs of the student versus just general support. And one way we can do that also is with our contract with Tutor.com that we piloted last year, that we're fully implementing this year. We can assign specific topics for Tutor.com. That's an online resource where the students will have access to, they have access to their laptop or their iPad and the internet. Then we can assign those tutoring lessons that are aligned to the needs that are identified in these assessments. And that way, if you have a person working in the after-school program who may not be with the school or with Mount Olive Community Outreach, might not have the capacity to assist in that particular subject area, they can at least make sure that they get online and work with Tutor.com in that particular area. So that's what we're working toward, and we should be rolling that out pretty soon. Questions? All right.
I mean, another suggestion would be just to give the information to the parents. The parents could, if their child goes to after school program, the parent can say, hey, here's some things that your child needs to work on, or their private tutor. Okay, great, good information.
Thanks for that question.
Yes, thank you.
All right, next item, investment in human capital, and I'll run through this very quickly. We talked about these initiatives before, the Aspiring Principals Academy, the Aspiring Leaders Academy, our Mentor Teachers Academy, and the like. You'll see the list there. Then our emerging initiatives, we talked about our Parent Teacher Program, and the fact that the Dougherty County School System is the first registered apprenticeship program for K-12 educators in the state of Georgia, as recognized by the U.S. Department of Labor. And we're very excited about those programs and those initiatives. And but one thing we looked at also when we looked at our teacher pipeline, this is an article from USA Today that was published in February of 23. Thinking of rendering a single-family home, these are the 10 fastest growing markets. Now, Dougherty County is not one of the fastest growing markets. LA is the fastest growing market in the country. But if you look at the highlighted portion, that was the title of the fastest growing market. They also looked at the highest level of rent inflation for single family homes in the country. And if you look at the fact that nationwide, they say single family rentals have grown in price dramatically higher at a dramatically higher rate than apartments. And in Albany, Georgia, they topped the list with a 42% increase in rent from January 22 to January 23 for single family homes. Apartments are not as great, but they are. You still see that inflation there. One thing that we have experienced in talking to teachers coming out of school is affordability, being able to afford to pay rent here. Although we've increased salaries by over $7,000 over the last several years for teachers, and we've increased pay across the board, we still see a housing inventory that is in short supply. And of course, the law of supply and demand, if you have a high demand and short supply, prices go up. and so that's his economics. So one thing that we have done, and we've begun having conversations with government leaders, local and state, and also, as well as private companies, to look at ways we can forge partnerships to provide not necessarily single family homes, but multifamily homes, duplexes, quadruplexes, and create a community that provides with less than market rate rent for specific areas of employment. Of course, I'm pushing educators. We also want to include first responders, because if you notice that the city has a great need to fill vacancies in for police. They've gone to, I think, $50,000 starting pay just to attract them, but it's still not enough. So we're looking at that, and also teachers, educators, police, or first responders, and healthcare workers in these communities that we can develop with public-private partnerships that will provide us with an opportunity to provide offer rent at less than market rates to increase the affordability for those people coming out of college and being able to hopefully stay in the Dougherty County school system. And I say that we have one example of a teacher who was graduating in December. She's doing a student teaching at one of our schools right now, and she was going home to Atlanta because she couldn't afford rent here based on what she looked at. So we were able to intervene and provide her with get in contact with a complex that provides less than market rate rent, and they have some set aside just for our teachers. And so we were able to do that, and that's because when she was offered a job, she said she wanted to stay, but she really couldn't afford to stay. And so she just talked to the right people, and we were able to do that. And but we need to come up with a more systematic approach, and not just hoping that they talk to somebody about it. Because some people won't tell you they can't afford it; they just go back home. So we're going to develop a program, and we're going to market that program to our educators. And Ms. Hudley, some things we don't have. I don't. From a business side of me, says you don't announce a plan or launch it until you have all your ducks in a row and have all the things planned and have all the answers. But another part of me says, if you have a dream and you have all the answers worked out, then you're not dreaming big enough. You know, rely on something else and just trust that it's going to happen. So that's what I'm doing. I'm putting it out there. We don't have all the I's dotted and T's crossed, but I do believe that within the next 6 months you'll be seeing an announcement about a housing initiative from the Dougherty County school system, partner with local estate agencies that are going to make it more affordable for teachers, specifically rather, but also first responders and healthcare workers to be able to afford housing. So throwing that out there, I want y'all to hold me accountable for delivering on that. Yes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Youngblood.
Right. I can find that out. It wasn't in the article. I got it from the article that I did some anecdotal research to find out about affordability, and prices have gone up. But in terms of the median, I don't know. I'm sure I can get with the realtors group to find out what that is. Yeah. Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Kevin Bush.
I know how you are very meticulous and you're a very careful person, and you deal very, very, very conservatively. But have you? I was just sitting here pondering while you were giving that report. I think that maybe you won't. I pray that you won't. But I think you'll get a lot of pushback from the slumlords in our community. We have a lot of slumlords. All you have to do is go south of this road out there. It looks like a third world country. The slumlords. And I think that you're going to get a lot of pushback from them, period. And I think it would be good for the community, but it wouldn't be good for the slumlord's pocketbook.
But yes, sir. I can see your concern there. But quite frankly, I'm not as concerned about their pocketbooks as I am about creating opportunities to better our community. And what I think is, what I pray that what I hope that they would do is they would see that we're providing quality, affordable housing, and they would see it as an opportunity to upgrade the living conditions of the people that stay with them, and they continue to get the rent, and they'll make money, not as much money maybe, but enough money to continue to stay in business. But if they don't, I'm firmly committed to doing what we need to do to improve the teacher pipeline, to make the lives of our teachers in terms of their financial stability better, so that when they get in the classroom, they can focus on teaching and not focusing on how they're going to make rent or have to get another job to help pay rent. So I understand your concern. I thought through that, Reverend Bush. As you know, I kind of look at all angles, but that's a no-brainer for me. I'm not concerned about that. If they push back, then I got a little have a little push too, and I don't mind. I don't mind. So, thanks for that question, though. Yes, sir. And if they get too rough, I just call you for some help.
That's that personal security.
Right. Any more questions, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to pause a few minutes to share with the superintendent and the board that I had the opportunity to visit with the head of our instructional accountability department and Mrs. Smith and Dr. Massey. I had a wonderful time watching them invest in our educators. I am convinced we're on our way there, Mr. Superintendent. It was delightful to see all of those educators excited and moving forward, and the teams that were working with them. Thank you very much, to be commended.
Ms. Hill is referring to the professional learning day that we had at various locations. I happened to run across her at Dougherty High, and she was making sure that the level of instruction in professional learning was of quality, and I hope we met your expectations. Yes, ma'am. All right. Any more questions, comments? If not, then as you can tell, we're moving. We lost some time during the pandemic, and you may be saying, we just got the teacher apprenticeship program thing approved, and you're on to something else. That's right. And when we get this one done, we're going to be on to something else immediately after. We're not going to take time to rest on our laurels. We're going to keep pushing. And I think our students deserve it, and our teachers certainly deserve it, and we're going to keep pushing forward with your support, Madam Chair and board members. So thank you for that. Celebrations and announcements. Of course, again, we mentioned this at our first meeting. This is National Principals Month. And you might say, why did we say it again? Well, because I think we need to. We said that at the beginning of the month. We're going to say it at the end of the month. Our principals do a great job, and they help lead the way for the improvement that we are seeing in the Dougherty County school system. A couple other things. National Bullying Prevention Month. We had Unity Day during this month. Of course, Mr. Norfleet, Mr. Fields gave you a presentation on National Cybersecurity Month. Last week was National School Lunch Week. Of course, this week is National National Red Ribbon Week. I said blue ribbon. I'm thinking about Robert Cross and their Blue Ribbon Award. I'm still excited about that. All right, and we have one other thing. Let me see if I can pull this up. I don't think I can share that, JD, but I want to give you an overview of our ESSER expenditures and our particularly the ARP, American Rescue Plan. And this is a nice time to take a break and recognize Mr. Drake from Representative Sanford Bishop's office. Mr. Drake, he's the field representative for Southwest Georgia, correct? Excuse me, district director. I apologize. Yeah, he works with Sanford Bishop's office. He's a public servant, and he does a great job. And he's also a Dougherty County School System retiree. And so thank you for joining us. And I saw him writing down notes furiously as we were talking about the public-private partnerships for housing. And so I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you, because I know you're acutely aware of the challenges associated with that, and as always, we appreciate your support and the support of the congressman and our efforts to support our educators. But just I have it on my screen. I can't share it on here because it's not in a tab. But we received a little over $65 million in American Rescue Plan funding, so far we have spent, invested all but about $14 million of that, and one of the requirements for this funding, for the American Rescue Plan funding, was that at least 20% be spent on efforts concerning learning loss. We budgeted out of the 65, we budgeted $33,600,000 for supplemental instruction to address the impact of disrupted learning. And so, to date, we spent $31 million of the funding for that, and we have about $14 million left to spend in total. So, as we look at our expenditures to date, 47.5% of the 65 has already been spent on learning loss initiatives, and with the projected amount to be spent by September 24th, we'll be at 51.4% of the funds spent on learning loss. So the requirement was 20%. We'll spend over half because, as we know, our students across the country suffer tremendously academically in terms of the effects of the pandemic, and we're committed to accelerate the recovery. We've seen the results of that in our growth in our academic achievement, and with the efforts that the targeted efforts that Ms. Smith, her team is leading, along with support from Mr. Davis and his team, with the targeted support and interventions and evidence-based practices. We're excited to see the growth that we're going to have this year, and these the ARP funds and all of the ESSA funds are provided critical resources to be able to meet the needs of our students as we continue to combat the effects of COVID and our students' instruction. Do we have any questions, comments regarding that? If not, then Madam Chair, that concludes my report. Okay.
At this time, we'll move into our regular board meeting. I would invite you all to stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Thank you all for being here again. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any other public comments?
I don't think so.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed?
Madam Chair, for clarity, that includes the
agenda. Yes, I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that. It includes the 5B addendum. Okay. The motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the board meeting held on October 9th?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve a consent agenda for items 2 through 5B with the addition of one chaperone on the, which one's that, the Dougherty? Yes, the Dougherty field trip.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Are there any other announcements? Would anyone like to say anything?
Mr. Drake,
Mr. Drake?
Did Chair wants to know if you want to make any comments on behalf of the office of the congressman, or if so, feel free, but don't feel obligated.
Nothing like being put on the spot. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you again for being here. All right. Are there any other announcements?
Have one announcement, Madam Chair. We have our Reach Scholarship signing will be held on November 3rd at College and Career Academy from 11, scheduled from 11 to 1. And so you may have received an email today about that, and we'll be contacting you from our office to see if you want to attend. And feel free, don't feel obligated, of course, but if you want to celebrate middle school students who have earned scholarship money for college in 8th grade, then they certainly will come celebrate them. But that'll be again November 3rd at the College and Career Academy from a schedule to begin at 11 o'clock. We'll send you some more information about that within the next day or so. All right.
Nothing further. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? We are now adjourned.